Hi everyone, welcome to Forbes Flash. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. And stick around, because later we'll be sharing an interview with the former president of Estonia from our CIO Summit earlier this week. Here's a few stories you might have missed this past week. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, like everybody else on the internet, Beyoncé's monumental performance at Coachella on Sunday. In reuniting Destiny's Child on stage, the star made more than just headlines. She also made money. After the performance ended, digital sales for the group soared 767%. Speaking of hits, the corporate world recognized a different type of star this week, America's most reputable companies of 2018. There's a new #1 to celebrate this year, Campbell Soup. The brand jumped all the way to the top from the 30th spot last year. Next up is Nike Inc. and Bose. Not near the top of the list, tech giants Amazon, Google, and Facebook, which have all been in contentious headlines as of late. Switching gears to a different kind of ranking. If you're looking for a new place to live, you'll want to check out the list of the best cities to rent in right now. Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina make up the best area to be a renter in this year, thanks to apartment unit and job growth. Also good in terms of population and jobs growth, Austin, Texas, and Nashville, Tennessee. Elon Musk's project to bring high-speed underground transportation systems to dense urban regions is taking another step forward. The Boring Company has raised nearly $113 million to get operations underway. Over 90% of the funding round came from Musk himself, with the rest from early employees, according to the company. No outside investors were involved. Along with the initial tunnel in Hawthorne, an LA suburb, Musk has set his eyes on Chicago and a line between New York and Washington, D.C. Think back to when you were 21 years old. You may have been finishing up college or working in your first job, but you likely weren't doing what Sean Henry was, closing a $2.4 million round of funding. The young entrepreneur is using the funding to grow Stored, a software company that connects businesses with on-demand warehouses. Along with 20-year-old co-founder Jacob Boudreau, the company's network includes hundreds of storage facilities across the country. The Forbes Under 30 honorees anticipate revenue to pass $4 million in 2018. A recent Forbes investigation uncovered a concerning story for those of you worried about online privacy. Over the past 5 years, a secretive surveillance company founded by a former Israeli intelligence officer has been quietly building a massive facial recognition database consisting of faces acquired from Facebook, YouTube, and more. The company's main focus is helping intelligence agencies and law enforcement fight terrorism online, but there are indications of more political endeavors as well. Though the company has long been a vendor for the U.S. government, there is no evidence that America has purchased use of the facial database. Now, for a bit of an interview that's too interesting not to share. You may not have been at our CIO Summit earlier this week, but we sat down with former president of Estonia, Toomas Hendrik Ilves, who led his country to become the most digitally savvy on Earth. Here, he shares his thoughts on digital IDs.
Well, it was a funny joke 25 years ago when the New Yorker published a cartoon of two dogs, and one dog says to the other, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog. But it's not funny anymore, in that you really do need to have a secure identity. I mean, the technical means for that are offered, for example, by companies like Google and Apple. But if you really want to have digitization to really have an effect, that secure identity must be backed up legally, so you have it has legal efficacy, or that you can actually sign any document legally with that identity, and that requires your secure identity to be tied to some kind of national registry. I mean, you already have that with a passport. Here, you have that with a driver's license, where the state, be it California or New Jersey, guarantees that you are you because you have a driver's license to show. Well, why do you need to have a driver's license to show? Why can't you extend that to your secure identity online? That's basically what we did. The first step would be a chip on your driver's license that you use to identify yourself for digital transactions. Since we established a very secure, strong identity digitally, which basically everyone in my country uses to do business, the idea was that, well, why should this be restricted strictly to people who live in the country? If you establish residence for your company in a country, physically, then you open a bank account and you do your business there. And the question is, in this new era, why do you actually need to physically live there? Why do you need to have a building there? In fact, we know who you are. You want to establish a company, go ahead. But we know who you are based on this identity. Now, this is in contrast, I would say, to what you can do in the U.S. or in the U.K., in which you can have a shell company. You don't know who owns the company, and you can buy real estate, as we found all kinds of Russian mafioso doing in the United States. This would not be possible in my country, because we know that you cannot establish a company without knowing who is the owner, and you can not open a bank account as a company unless you're an established company where we know the owners. Well, most countries don't have a strong digital identity to offer, and that's that really is what it comes down to, is that unless you have that initial thing, which is the identity that is where we know who you are and you can use it for digital transactions, then there's no way you can do that kind of, you cannot offer this kind of residency. And I suspect other countries will, when they adopt systems, a system like we have, will follow up and do it as well. There's no reason why other countries should not be able to do it, except for the limitations that exist in terms of offering digital identities to your own citizens.
Thanks for joining us. Tweet your feedback using #ForbesFlash, and we'll see you next week. Tune in every Friday morning, same time, same place.